What's causing this error here? This error is a CORS error. It is an error you might see sometimes when building something like this, when communicating to an API from inside your frontend app. CORS is a security concept. It stands for Cross-Origin Resource Sharing. And the general idea in CORS, or with this CORS concept, is that resources on a server can only be requested by requests that are coming from the same server. So for our backend, which runs on localhost 5000, the idea is that we can only request data from there from an app that also runs on localhost 5000, which our app of course doesn't. It runs on localhost 3000. And you might say it's both on localhost, but actually these are two totally different domains. It's like having a page on yourpage.com and the coolbackend.com. So really two totally separate domains. Now, CORS is a security concept enforced by the browser, which is why we had no problems with Postman. But the browser enforces this, and the browser sees that here we're trying to send a request from localhost 3000 to localhost 5000, and hence it does not take the response by that server. So it's not a server-side error, it's a front-end error. It's an error in our browser because CORS is a browser security concept. To work around that, the server has to attach certain headers to the responses it sends back to the client that basically allow the client to access the resources. And then the browser automatically detects these headers and sees, okay, it's fine, you may access this, and the browser will not throw this error here. So we need to do some work on the backend, and we need to make sure we attach the right headers to our response. And a great place to do that is in the app.js file, because we will attach these headers to every response we send back on the backend. So it's not just on user routes, it's really on every response. Therefore here, let's add a middleware before we forward the request to our specific routes here. And we register a middleware with app use, as you learned. And there I will have a regular middleware function with request, response, and next. So basically what we already learned about in previous modules. And the idea here is that we don't send back a response, but that we just add certain headers to the response so that when later a response is sent back from our more specific routes, it does have these headers attached. So here in the end, we will call next to let the request continue its journey to other middlewares. But before we call that, we want to add certain headers. And we can do that with res set header. This sets a header on the response. And there we will need to set 3 headers. The first header is access-control-allow-origin. So make sure you don't introduce a typo here. It really has to be named like this. The value, which is the second argument we pass to set header, then can be star. This basically allows us to control which domains should have access, so where the browser should allow this. We could restrict this to localhost 3000, but actually here on this API, I'm fine with opening this up to any domain. Keep in mind that this is not a general security concept, but that it's just enforced by browsers. So you can't lock down API access in general here. For example, Postman simply doesn't care about these headers. For the browser, however, this is a first step, but not the only step. It allows any domain to send requests, but it's still not enough. We also need to specify which headers these requests sent by the browser may have. Therefore, we send a new header to the responses, the access-control-allow-headers header. This controls which headers incoming requests may have so that they are handled. We can set this to star as well, but here I want to be a bit more specific. I want to allow the origin header, the x-requested-with header, the content type header. The first two are basically set automatically, but the content type header is one we set explicitly on the front end. The accept header, which is also set automatically by the browser. and also the authorization header, which is not set automatically by the browser, but which we will set later in the course. So we'll already configure it here. As a next step here, I will add a last header, and that's the access-control-allow-methods header. And this basically controls which HTTP methods may be used on the front end or may be attached to incoming requests. And there I want to handle get, post, patch, delete requests. Because if we have a look at our routes, these are the type of incoming verbs we handle there. With that, if we save that, our backend restarts. And now we should be able to test this again. Let's go to authenticate again, switch to sign up, enter our data here, and click sign up, and it now works. Now you can see that here indeed we are allowing this access, and here as a response, we hence got back our user data with all that entered data. Now we do still include the password here, for example, in plain text, which we might not want to submit like this. It is something we can change later once we add authentication. For the moment, this is fine. And therefore, here we see that the general auth flow works. If we now check our collections on the backend, and we go to that MERN database here, we see there's a new users collection, and in there, indeed, the user I just created. So that's not looking too bad. We are able to send this request, and we made a huge step forward therefore. Of course, though, that's not all. For example, at the moment, we're not giving the user of our application any indication that we're waiting for a response, and we're also not handling errors. So we definitely want to do that as well.